again. I noticed that some people were struggling with the area of a circle, and so I just wanted to do a quick video to see if it would help you guys. So the first thing we want to remember is that our formulas, oh, don't know how I did that, that's fun. The first thing we want to remember is our formulas for the area of a circle, right? Our formulas are area is pi times the radius squared, so remember r is your radius. Remember, pi is a constant, so it's about 3.14-ish, right? It's technically an irrational number. It goes on forever, but we're basically going to use it 3.14. And then d, which you'll see in the circumference formula in a minute, is the diameter. So for a circle, the radius is from any, hold on, let me try that again. For a circle, oops, much better. The radius goes from the center to any point along the circle. And in a circle, the definition of a circle, right, is all the points equidistant from a particular point. So the radius is the same no matter where you go. The diameter is the length from one point on the circle to another point on the circle that passes through the center. So the radius is half the diameter, or 2 radii will make the diameter. Okay? So we are going to find the area of a circle. Okay? So first things first, we're just going to look at this problem, right? It says, what is the area of the following circle? Either enter an exact answer in terms of pi. When it says in terms of pi, that means don't multiply by pi. Okay? Just means leave pi in your answer. Or you can use 3.14 for pi. So that's what we're going to do. I am a big fan of leaving my answer in terms of pi because it means slightly less work for me. So I always start, again, write my formula out, pi r squared, right? And then I plug in what I know. Pi is a constant, so that's not going to change. The radius is 5, and I'm squaring that. Now, the trickiest part to this is making sure you do the order of operations correctly. So remember, you have to square before you multiply. So the first thing I'm going to do is square this 5, this part here, and get 25. And then you could write your answer as 25 pi. That's totally acceptable, perfectly good answer. Or you can multiply 25 by 3.14, which I probably should have grabbed a calculator to do. Okay. So I grabbed my calculator, 25 times, oops, this is approximately 25 times 3.14, which if you do that out is 78.5. And since it's an area problem, we should always put square units. Okay, so that's kind of your most straightforward area of the circle. Plug in your radius, square it, multiply by pi, you're done. There's also a slightly less straightforward one. So without the picture, which you don't really need as long as you underline your important information, but this time we want to find an area of a circle with a diameter of 4. So remember, the diameter goes all the way across, but for our area formula, we only want the radius, right? So we only want from here to here. So if the diameter is 4 and the diameter is 2 radiuses, right? Then 2 radiuses is 4. I know I'm making this probably more complicated than it needs to be, but the radius is half the diameter, so the radius is 2. Okay? So then I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Pi r squared pi times my radius of, oops, not 4. See, that's the mistake you're going to make. 2. Then I'm going to square 2. And I could leave my answer as 4 pi, right? Perfectly good answer right there. Or if you wanted to, you could keep going and multiply pi by 4. Do 4 times 3.14, which is 12.56. So either of these should have been acceptable answers. Okay. Notice that I keep putting these little squiggly lines. Those squiggly lines mean approximate because pi isn't exactly 3.14, but it's pretty close. Kind of close enough for government work, as my mom would say. Okay, the last one we're going to do is, what if you weren't given the area of, or not given the radius or the diameter of a circle? How could you figure it out? So in this case, you have to be given something else. And so we're given the circumference, okay? The circumference of the circle is, the way that you guys are probably used to seeing it is 2 pi r. 2 pi times the radius. The way I grew up seeing it was pi times diameter. And my math teacher in 7th grade taught me a little memory tool. He would say, cherry pie's delicious, apple pies are too. So it's just a little memory tool. If it works for you, fantastic. Either way, either formula that you want to use doesn't matter. They're the same thing, because remember, 2 times the radius is the same as the diameter. Okay? So that's what we're going to start with. We know the circumference. So this is my C, right? This guy here, that's C. So I'm going to plug in 6.28 equals 2 pi r. And then I got to solve for my radius. So the thing that's attached to my radius is the 2 pi. This guy here is attached, and it's attached by multiplication, right? There's no other operations here. So if there's no operations, then we know it's multiplication. So I'm going to divide by 2 pi. 6.28, there's clearly rounded. So when I, in my calculator, do pi, I'm going to use 3.14. Okay? So in my calculator, what I am going to do is, because if you're using your iPhone calculator, you have to do order of operations correctly. I'm going to do I'm going to do 2 times 3.14, right, which is 6.28. And actually, I probably should be doing this work off to the side. So 2 times 3.14, which is 6.28. And then I'm going to do 6.28 divided by 6.28, which is 1. Right? So I did that work on the side because if in your calculator you do 6.28 divided by 2 pi or times 3.14, you're going to get it wrong. Your calculator is going to do 6.28 divided by 2, right? And then that number, which is 3.14, times, so that thing, times 3.14. Why do I keep forgetting the 1? Right? So that's not what we want it to do. So we have to do it either in 2 steps, or if you have a smarter calculator than an iPhone calculator, you've got to put parentheses around the 2 pi, but you want it to divide by that entire product. So I like to do it on the side, do the product really quick, and then plug it back in so that I don't have to worry about my order of operations error. Okay? So now we have our radius. Yay! Okay, so our radius is what we need to find our area. I'm going to get rid of this because we used it. We know what we're doing. We're all set. Now I'm going to start with my area formula, right? So area is pi times the radius squared. So I square my radius. 1 squared is 1. 1 times pi is just pi. So that's a perfectly acceptable answer. I somehow made it both blue and black. Don't know how I did that. Okay. But remember, we could also multiply by 3.14, so 3.14 is also an acceptable answer. Okay, so I hope that helped. And if you guys need anything else, let me know.